Well, hi, friends. It's time for our look of the month, and this is for August, and the look is called Pink Confidence. So, I want to first show you my fun compact. This is my Compact Pro that I've been building over time with our look of the month. And this is our look right here, these row of two colors here. This is the blush and rosy nude, and the three eyeshadows that we're going to be doing will be Biscotti, Smoky Quartz, and Dusty Rose. Alrighty. And then we have, of course, our lipsticks. But isn't this pretty? Up on the top here are my two favorite bronzers, some contours, some highlighters, and just some prettiness all the way around. And these are all of our eyeshadows, actually, that we've been using for all of the look of the months. So this was August, this was July, and this was June. How nice is that? And I had just one extra spot left over, so I put in a second crystalline over here. Just so if you're like counting, like going, oh, you got more eyeshadows than we have in the book, just put an extra one so that it all filled in. I just wanted it to look good. All right, so let's get into the look and what I did. So what were my tools? Well, the first thing that I always like to use is my multi-benefit concealer. So this is light one, and I just really dab this over my eyebrow, under my eyebrow, inside corners of the eyes. And if you notice that under my eye on one side, there's no line, but on this side there is a line. Now the bags are on both sides, but I wanted to show you that just by using the multi-benefit right on the on the crease of your line, it will give it the optical illusion that it's not there. Okay, how fun is that? Right, so that was what I did with my concealer, and I'll come back and talk a little bit about how I finished up the corners of my eyes. So I'm going to go from my lips up. All right, so our next step up from there were my lips, and I used the Mary Kay beige nude waterproof lip liner. I always like to use a lip liner. It wasn't part of this design, but just saying that that's what I chose to do. And I used the beige nude and outlined my lips, tops and bottoms, but then I wanted my lip to look just a little bit bigger, so just on the top, right along the edge of my first lip line, I add a little bit more color, and likewise on the bottom, and then colored them all in and just let that sit for a sec. Then the next step up from there were the two lip colors that we're going to be using. So Love Me Pink is our gel lipstick, and I actually only had a sampler to work with. And if you've ever had problems opening up a Mary Kay lipstick sampler, I hear you. So I have a pair of jewelry pliers that I use, and so what I do is fold it back, grab the cello on the inside, and then I just pulled it right back. It gave me easy access to open up this lip color, and I used it for both the lip color and for the lip gloss. And yep, and and used just a sponge tip applicator to apply them. So first color was the Love Me Pink lipstick, and it wasn't quite a perfect match with the lip liner, but that's okay because it gave some frame to the lips. Works for me. Then I finished up with a little bit of the Sheer Illusion lip gloss, the unlimited lip gloss, which is always a favorite. Always looks pretty. It looks great on every single lipstick color that you would ever put on for Mary Kay. All right, so then from there I went up to the blush. So I'm using my Mary Kay blush brush, and I squeezed it a little bit because I wanted to have a little bit more control over where my blush was going to be going. And I used Rosy Nude blush. So I squeezed this a little bit, added it to, tapped on some blush, and then where does your blush grow? Where does your blush go? Okay, two fingers, outside corner of the nostril on each side. That's where it should start. And should it go lower? No, you don't want blush down here. Yeah, it'll pull your face down. You want your blush right up here, kind of on the high point of your cheek. And I put mine on the outside of the apple. This is the apple of the cheek. I put mine more to the outside of the apple. Just patted it on nicely on both sides, going up a little bit. Then I finished up with a little bit of translucent loose powder just to take a little bit of the shine off the complexion. Super simple, easy. Plus, I love the luminosity effect that the translucent loose powder provides from there. Then from there, we started on our eyes. Okay, so we have a fun few things that we did with this. First of all, the tools that I used, all over eyeshadow brush and two contour brush, one for Dusty Rose, one for Smoky Quartz. That was just my personal preference on that one. So the first thing that I did was I used the Pink Prism eye stick, and I applied that along the base of the eyelash line on the top, and then I did a second row just above that. So I had Pink Prism maybe about on half of the eyelid, and then on the bottom I used the Pink Prism, and I went from the outside corner to the inside corner. So the entire under eye lash line was underlined with pink prism. I know you're going, well, it doesn't look like it now. Well, let me just say that it was a buildable thing. Okay. Then from there, and I didn't smudge it. I didn't do anything with it then other than just to put it on. Then let's start with our eyeshadow. So the all over eyeshadow brush, I popped up a little bit of the biscotti and a stipple and just stippled it under the eyebrow and likewise on top. Then just did a soft blend. I just wanted to frame my eyebrows a little bit on the top. That was all I did with this biscotti. Then we started with our two contour brushes. And so the first color that I picked up was Dusty Rose. So the Dusty Rose I put in the crease of the eye, went from the outside corner to the inside corner. But here's a couple lines that I like to honor. The outside corner of my eye to about the outside corner of my eyebrow, that's about as far, that imaginary line that I create right there, I don't want my eyeshadow to go below that line. It makes my eyes look droopy when I want them to look awake and alert. So I never go below that imaginary line. So when I'm popping my eyeshadow in, that's kind of where I went. Now I have a little bit of puffiness just as part of my eye socket on both of my eyes. So I'll put a little bit of extra eyeshadow right in there. But remember that concealer right on the inside corner where I needed to brighten it up. I went back and did a little bit of brighten touch up right in there, right at the end. Okay, so that went under each eyebrow. And if there was a little bit of a distinct line, I went back and just blended it out a little bit so that it looked like it was the shade of color was just graduating from the Dusty Rose up to the biscotti, real soft. Then from there, I took the other concealer, a contour brush rather, eyeshadow contour brush, and I picked up some of the smoky quartz, and I wanted to put the smoky quartz right over the iris of the eye, looking dead straight on, dabbed it on each eyelid, and I actually went almost up to the crease. You may or may not be able to see that. I just wanted to put some brightness right in there. And then if it looked like it was a little bit too much of a line, I went back and smudged that a little bit because I kind of like my eyeshadows look like they gradually transition from one shade to the other without any real harsh line. That's just my own personal preference. And then from there, it was time for a little bit of Steely waterproof eyeliner. So the Steely waterproof eyeliner, I started at the base of the eyelash and went right along the base of the eyelash to almost the outside corner, but not quite to the outside corner of my upper eyelash. Then I started about the iris and I did a second line, and this time I wanted to make it a little bit of a wedge. So I've tried that triangle thing in the corner, not easy for me to do, but I could do two lines and the second line being just above the first line and only going about halfway. So starting at the iris and going to almost to the outside corner on that top line on both sides. So it gives it a little bit of a wedgy line on the outside upper eyelash line. On the bottom, I did the same thing, went from the outside corner and then just went in part of the way on both sides. And then I said, but I want to have a little bit of a wing going up. Now, one side I did better than the other. This side, I think it could have been improved on, but this side, I really like how that looked. I think it shows up nicely. So what I do is I just pick that and go straight up like that, a little bit, just a little bit. Not, I mean, literally just one smidge past the eyeliner, going in an upward motion. And I did that on both sides. I like this side better. Okay. And yeah, I want it to be like a sharp uplift line. So remember when we talked about the concealer earlier, or the multi-benefit concealer earlier? So going back and using the same brush I use for smoky quartz, I literally just opened this up and picked up a little bit of the color just down the outside tip of the tube and wiped it up on each side. So I just kind of lifted the corners, and you can see it looks a little bit brighter right there. Just lifted the corners of my eyes. Half the time I'm wearing reading glasses, but when I do have my reading glasses off, I do want the corners of my eyes. I want my eyes to look like they're more awake and open. So that's how I did that one. Okay, then the last thing is a little bit of mascara. So the new Mary Kay Panorama Mascara, the Define and Lift, it actually has a built-in lock mechanism. So when you open it up, you feel like you kind of go, ugh. There's a little bit of a locker in there, which means that when you close it up, make sure that you get that same lock it. So you seal it. Otherwise, your mascara dries out too soon, and that's just not any fun. Okay, so I always like to take off a little bit of my mascara, and then with my wand, I roll it, and I roll it, and I roll it. And I will do this roll about 3 or 4 times. It has a nice little curve to it, or a little waistline on the brush. It's not perfectly straight, so I can get a little bit closer to the base of the eyelashes. I also tip the bottom of my eyelashes on each side, kind of like that. You can feel where it's at. And then I do just a little bit more mascara on the outside corner. Add 3 or 4, little more. strokes of mascara. Now, here's the neat thing about our mascara. You know, when your mascara wand is loaded, you don't need to go back in and pump it again. It just keeps on happening. So there's no problem with that whatsoever. It just continues to fill your eyelashes up nicely with mascara. So that's everything for the look of the month for August. It's called Pink Confidence. Thanks for watching, and see you again next month. Have a good one.